Okay, right now I can see Aron is here. Hi.
Hi, how's it going, Dr. Chef?
Good. How are you?
You see, I have your vibe.
Are you ready for your presentation today?
Yeah. A little bit intense just now when you're talking about laws and getting sued and everything is. I'm starting to doubt if I'm gonna be on track on my topic. But yeah, is this a law class? What kind of class is this?
This is a DBA and PhD of leadership class.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'll try to do my best. My presentation is gonna be maybe 30 minutes, and then I'll have some Q&A. Let me see. So let me share my screen real quick. How's everyone doing? Good. All right. So a little bit of introduction. My name is Aron Yu. I have a company called SoFun Media. So we do media, right? So media such as, San Diego Union Tribune, contents. We provide contents. We are like the news platform for the Chinese community here in San Diego. And my background is in internet marketing. So I went to UCSD maybe 10 years ago. And, I majored in computer science. So I know coding. I graduated. I actually graduated, and I went to web development. From web development, it got really bored, so I jumped into SEO, search engine optimization, internet marketing, and then social media when Facebook and Friendster, all those good things came on. So yeah, so internet related all the way since I graduate. So yeah, SoFun Media, like I was saying, it's a Chinese platform. It's a Chinese platform, a Chinese news media platform for local San Diegans, and I got into it because of one thing. I came here into the United States in 1998. And I noticed there is not much Chinese content, as in there was newspaper. If you go to like Ranch 9, I don't know how familiar you guys with the Chinese community, but we have a Chinese market. It's called Ranch 99, and every time you go in, you see a bunch of newspaper, right? So even to this day, the old school news media, the newspaper is the only source of information for people to understand news. So from the longest time, I was thinking, what about integrating the Chinese community into San Diegans? I've known a lot of Chinese people who has been here for 20 years, maybe even Dr. Xiao yourself, and all they know is Kearny Mesa. We call it Convoy Street. So they know nothing else but Kearny Mesa, right? Because there's all these Chinese restaurants over there. So one of my idea was how about I create this platform so that so I can connect the Chinese community and San Diego together. So that's the whole purpose of creating SoFun Media. All right. So with that said, I am going to dive into today's presentation. All right, so SoFun Media, we do content providing, we do marketing, we do advertising. So like I was saying, I was in internet marketing for the longest time, and I'm really good with Google. I'm really good at Google Banner, Google Search, social media, so on and so forth. Yeah, so one of the thing that I provided other than Chinese content is the advertisement service for my advertisers. So we have advertisers ranging from restaurants. Of course, we have advertisers like attorneys. What else do we have? Dr. Xiao knows a lot of my advertisers. But yeah, anyone who wants to reach the Chinese demographic, I even advertised for the local San Diegan governments when COVID hit, because they wanted COVID related information out there. And yeah, so I fully supported them. But yeah, like I was saying, internet marketing, I make sure that, all my advertisers are presented correctly on platforms such as Google, social media, and so on, so that they get more brand awareness. Okay, so SoFun Media is established in 2015, as like I was saying, is to help to localize the Chinese demographic by things that's fun. There's news, there is events, there's entertainment information. Not so much during the COVID because everything is being locked down, but before then it was really fun, if you remember, Dr. Xiao. So before then it was pretty fun. We talked about what the new restaurants. We talk about events going on weekly, the movies coming out, so on and so forth. But the main goal was to connect, to localize the Chinese demographic. Yeah, let me see what else. So yeah, so here's some sample local topics that I really enjoyed them myself. But things like like the 5 hiking spots in San Diego, right? And the top 8 restaurants that you have to try in San Diego. That's in 2022, as the community is opening back up. But other stuff like Kirkland liquors that you should not buy at Costco. So something that's very useful for sure, right? And a lot of COVID related news this 2 years, but that will tie into the topics of ethics, and I'll explain a little bit. But before then, like I was saying, I really enjoyed this, partly because it allowed me to explore my Chinese roots as well. I grew up in Singapore. I was born in Taiwan, but I grew up in Singapore and Australia. I came here in the United States in 1998. But I left Taiwan, which is a little island off the coast of China. I left Taiwan at a really young age, which means I know of my Chinese culture, but I really don't know that much. So having this media allowed me to re-explore my root as a Chinese person, right? So like I was saying, we have the Chinese New Year that was just recently. It started in the 1st of February for some reason, but I get to introduce the hottest hot pot place in San Diego, which is called Liu Yiso hot pot, right? And and Chinese people love gathering together for hot pots for Chinese New Year, and because it symbolizes a prosperous New Year, right? So and Chinese people, they are as you know, a little bit background, there's a lot of people in China, right? So they used to be around of people. So hot pot is one of those dining experience where you can enjoy the same thing together with a lot of people, right? But like I was saying, it symbolizes a prosperous New Year. And if you guys haven't tried it out, you have to try it. It's really good. And for those of you who like spicy food, oh my God, you have to try the spicy, the broth, spicy broth. It's straight from Sichuan. Sichuan is a city, a county that's a state. I think it's actually a state that's in the inside of China, and they're very well known for their hot pepper. Yeah, so if you like spicy food, you have to try it out. It's not just spicy, right? That is the soup base itself is very spicy. It's very buttery. It's very we call it very umami. It's very flavorful, very bold, right? So things like this, through this media, I get to re-explore my culture and to try all this amazing food. And that's one of the the main attraction, the reason why I'm in love with running this business. All right, so talking about ethics, as a news media, ultimately what is most important to us is traffic, right? Whatever topic that generates the most traffic is what every single news media that we are after. And one of the previous example that I just provided was entertainment. Entertainment is definitely one of the top topic that attracts traffic, but other topics that's attractive, that attracts topics as well, traffic as well, are what we call top three. Things that's political oriented, that's gossip oriented, and things that's negative, right? You can hear tons of information, but if you notice, what remains in your mind is always the negative news, right? So if you notice, a lot of people, even if you look at the local San Diegan news platform, they talk about news that's not very positive, right? You have the shootings, you have Black Lives Matters, you have the car accidents, stuff like that. You have the gossips, you have the political negativity oriented news. So one of the things that early on with SoFun we have decided, I didn't decide it by myself, but I had very strong inclination, is that this platform, since I have control of it, I want to steer away from anything that's biased in nature. So throughout the years, we try to stay away from politics. We try to stay away from anything that's gossipy, and definitely anything that's negative. There is times where we do have to talk about negative news, such as COVID itself, but I try to be unbiased in the sense that, although COVID itself is negative in nature, I want to talk, when we do put out news on COVID, we want to put it out in the sense that, we want to share data, we want to share methods to prevent COVID, and we want to share knowledge. So we want to turn a negative thing around and make it as informational as possible. But overall, we try to stay away from politics, gossip, and negative news. Right. Right. So one thing that I want to share, this is part of ethics. I would think that it would be part of ethics is would it be part of ethics? Maybe it will, but well, correct me if I'm wrong. But during COVID, a lot of my advertisers, they closed shop because of the close down, right? Because of the shutdown. So our revenue was cut by about 95%. But over the years, we worked hard, we saved up enough money. So instead of shutting down along with them, I insisted that we continue to run, because I think that as a news media, this is the time where we are. This is our value stands out right now, because we are the provider of information. So even though there's no income stream, we still want to run it, because people need to know about COVID information. They need to learn how to protect themselves, and so on and so forth. Right. So this is the 2 years where we made almost no money at all. But the good thing is, we saved up enough from previously, and we're still able to be here and be a source of light when it's all dark. So I think this is part of ethic, but it's more personal of what I think is important. And I think that's why we have so much passion. And it's not just me, it's my whole team. We have so much passion in doing this because we are on the same boat. We are on the same path going forward together. So another thing that I want to share about ethic is I rejected a lot of advertisers throughout the years. People who want to advertise, mostly, alcohol, Chinese alcohol, Chinese tobacco, things that you cannot get here in the United States. I have people who come to me and who's willing to pay big money, which I turn them down. So it's really hard, especially when you're trying to build a business. Saying no to money is so hard. But I think that's part of being an entrepreneur, and that sculpts how I become how I run my business, right? Some other businesses, some other advertisers I say no are multi-level marketing, and FDA, non-FDA approved consumables. And I say I kind of connect them with multi-level marketing, because a lot of multi-level marketing, they sell the non-FDA approved supplements, and although you can make some money off it, but it's not something that I pick to associate with. So that's my part of ethic, things that I make sure that money cannot buy from me, right? So let me see what's the next part. Unethical advertising techniques. So okay. So the next part is marketing techniques, marketing and advertising techniques. Things that we do not do is, we do not compare businesses. Some examples are, when I think it was Pepsi that came out back then, they compare themselves with Coke. So we never, when I advertise when I advertise for my advertisers, one thing I absolutely tell them that I won't do is to compare them with another business, because to me that is very unethical. And the other thing that I will absolutely not do is I would not promote unverified claims. So for example, when someone says he is the most trustworthy or the highest paid realtor in San Diego, stuff like that, I will say, if you can verify, if you can provide me with proofs, then yes, I will promote that. If not, then I won't help you lie and try to get business. So those are some of the ethical standard that I set up for myself and for my company. Next, workplace ethics. Okay, so the next 3 pointers are some of the things that I want to share about ethics and ethics in workplace in general, coming from an agency to forming my own company. I learned a lot. In a sense. It's kind of like being a parent, right? Before being a parent, you're just you. But when you're a parent, you have more responsibility. You look at the same task from a different perspective. And I think that's the beauty of an entrepreneur. And I encourage everyone to try at least once to be an entrepreneur. So the first point that I want to share is take responsibility. When you are the CEO of the company, you have to be responsible for your company, right? And that's one thing that most employees, they lack to understand, right? So I think for any employee, including the CEO or manager, you have to learn the importance of responsibility. Is it responsibility from both ends? And if you do want to be a leader, of course, that's a very important point of being a leader, is that responsibility. When everyone clocks out and go home, you want to finish your project because you're responsible, right? So one of the example that I put here is marketing, right? Marketing strategy. It's fun to come up with marketing strategy, but it's not fun when it doesn't work, right? So when it doesn't work, most of the time, especially when you're working to a team, people start pointing fingers. Oh, it's because the design is not good enough. Oh, it's because this guy didn't prepare enough. It's that's 1,000 reasons, but ultimately it's a group, especially when you're working together as a team. It's a team responsibility, right? And I think failure as part of becoming successful. So if you cannot embrace failure, then you're not ready for success, right? So I think taking responsibility is very important. Point number 2. I thought I have 3 points. I lost a point. Oops. Okay, sorry. So point number 2 is being accountable, right? That's kind of close to responsibility, but accountability is a very good trait. It's a must, I think. Being accountable, right? So a lot of times when a project is done, it's due in so this is one of the examples that I want to share. When a project is due in 2 weeks, and a day before, one of your employee comes to you and say, oh, I can't finish the project, right? So it's okay if you can't finish a project. I think it's part of my job as a team leader to help you out. But sitting down with that employee, I figure out that they haven't even started. So that is a very extreme case of not being accountable, right? Because you're not even accountable. You could be really busy, right? But I think when you can't fulfill a project, or if you can't fulfill a task, you have to notify your supervisor or your client. You have to be accountable, right? And I think under the normal situation, everyone will understand. Something came up. It happens to every single one of us, right? But when it happens enough, then you know that this person is not accountable, right? And yeah, there is many reasons for a person to be unaccountable, and I think it's part of a manager, a team leader, to understand maybe this person is not put in the right place. How can I help this person or this employee to get better? So those are all many topics. When a person is not fulfilling their part in a project, I think the last thing for a manager is to dismiss that person as a whole altogether. But you want to help him or her out as much as possible until you figure out, okay, this person cannot be helped or some reason like that. And I have a really good I'm going through a very I'm actually going through the same, I'm actually going through this right now with one of my employee. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to help, so that actually leads to the last sentence, that leads to the last sentence that's right here. The last thing you want to do is lose your trust, because it's very unprofessional, right? But when you lose the trust from your coworker, it's hard to come back. But last but not least, the point I want to share, and I lost the light, I lost the slide here, is communication. Point number 1 is communication. Communication is, I think, is the most important point to be to be successful, no matter where you are in business, right? No matter if you're working for someone or someone's working for you, because ultimately you're working together as a team. Earlier on, I have a mantra, which is you can go faster when you're alone, but you can go for a longer distance when you're going together as a team. So I put a lot of emphasis. I value a team a lot, right? So, but when there's more than one people working, that's bound to have miscommunication. That's bound to have conflict. So yes, communication is very important. And I just thought about something right now, which is I think it's Elon Musk who said it, but he says something like, you always want people to feel free to express themselves when you're working together as a team. The last thing you want to do is when someone who has a different in opinions, who is too afraid of speaking up. I think that is the downfall of a team, right? So communication is very important. Communication in the sense of from you to your team and from your team to back to you. So I think in team, you have to always acknowledge the difference in opinion, and you have to always encourage that communication to continue. Okay, so that's the 3 pointers for ethics within the workplace. Now, but not last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about leadership. This is very interesting. I have a set of leadership structure that I like to abide to, and I like to try to follow. But there's tons of leadership teachings out there, right? So I think ultimately you have to try them out, and then you have to find what matters to you, what fits best with you. So before I start, I can give you some example. Most companies, they emphasize a lot on loyalty, right? So they respect on seniority. So the people who work there longer, they get promoted more, they get more raise. So it's seniority based loyalty, right? The other kind of leadership, and I just heard this recently, is from Netflix. And I don't know if you guys know Netflix. I have a neighbor who works in Netflix, and they make a lot of money. And they have a new CEO recently, and the CEO said, "I am not here to make friends. I'm not here to make family. Okay, if you are worth it, I'll pay you more. If you're not capable, then you're gone." So that, as you can see, those two are two extreme opposite of leadership, and that's ultimately is for you to decide. There's no one better than the other. I think it's depends on scenario, depends on what kind of business that you're in. If you're in high tech, and I think in high tech, it's ultimately by talent and by experience. If you are really good, they're willing to pay you more. And I think that types of leadership is maybe we work better for that industry. But for others, it's different. So what kind of leadership that am I going to share for myself is something called servant leadership. Okay, servant leadership, I think to a point, I think it's very valid, and I think it's the best way to go, in the sense that if you look at this image right here, and we have been in this situation before, where you have your manager in the back just directing where everyone has to go, right? And always criticizing. Oh, heck, my dad's like that, right? It's easy to tell you what you do wrong, and it's easy to say, oh, don't do that again. But I think it takes charisma, and it takes wisdom for the leader to be hustling in front, be a really good model. And I think that's what servant leadership is in. Servant itself has a a bad connotation, a negative connotation, but it really, I think by the end of my sharing today, I want you to look at the word servant differently, in the sense that if you're hustling in your team along with everyone else, I feel like your team respects you a lot more. And I think that your team will go a little bit more because you're working hard as hell. So yeah, so that's servant leadership. It focuses on the growth of the individual, and so that your team might flourish, right? So it's not just about you, your team as a whole will flourish and achieve their full potential. And I think that's the beauty of it, because unless you are, and I don't think Elon Musk can build Tesla by himself too, right? You see Elon Musk running like 3 companies. Not every single company is successful, but he's hustling like hell, right? So I think Elon Musk himself is a great model of what a servant leadership is. It distinguishes a servant. Let me see. Okay, so the primary concern of servant leader is to service of his followers, right? So you're always pulling in front, but you're always looking back and making sure everything is okay. You're putting the right people at the right place, and you are encouraging them when they are not performing as well. You're trying to get the group moving in sync at the same pace. So now I have to share 3 stories, and I'm done with today's presentation. And I'm sharing the next 3 presentations. I have a disclaimer. Okay, I'm a Christian myself, but it has nothing to do with religion. Okay, I am using these examples because it has really good stories, and it shows, it explains what the pointers are. All right, so look at it from a story and don't look at it from a religion perspective. Okay, we have a lot of religions out here. I think the beauty of America is we respect all religions. All right, so and this point number 3, this is it talks about a person called Abraham. Abraham, he is part of, I think he's part of the Quran. He's part of Christianity. He's part of the Hebrew. Wait, let me see. So he's part of multiple religions, right? So the story about Abraham is that God called him out, right? And I think God did not just call him out; he called to everyone, right? But he acknowledged God's calling, right? So I think leadership number 1 is embracing the unknown. For whatever reason, I think that's what life is about. Is confronting the unknown. Is confronting things that you're not comfortable of. Is stepping out of your comfort zone, right? So this story right here is in a chapter called Genesis, but it says when he was called by God, and the calling is something like, leave your country and I will bless you. And I think it's really hard, in a sense that when you're comfortable at home, stepping out from your home is so terrifying. But I think that is the specific example that this story is trying to say, right? In leadership, it's almost like gambling, but you're gambling intellectually, right? So gambling intellectually is also known as investment, right? You're looking at the data, you're making educational choices, right? But ultimately you have to put that into action, and that is the scariest part, when you step out, right? Stepping out the comfort zone. So yeah, so leadership point number 3, which is that I want to share with you guys, is putting it in action, embracing the unknown. Right. A quote that I want to share is by Paulo Coelho. It says that your decision to walk creates the path ahead. And I was actually looking for this quote because of a Chinese saying. It's a very, very similar saying. Is, you know, you create that path, right? If you are following other people's path, what is the fun in that, right? It takes the fun out of that leadership, of that entrepreneurship. So I think, you know, I think this is a great quote. You know, you create your own path, and it's best that no one walked on that path, because then now you have all the room to explore yourself. You have all the room to make your own rules, right? But ultimately, you know, walking, you know, putting in action, I think that is what the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge, we have, a lot of us, we have great knowledge, but the wisdom is putting that knowledge in action. Okay, the second story that I want to share from the Bible is a person called David. I think he's also in the Old Testament in the Christian Bible, but a lot of us know this story, Christian and non-Christians, as him fighting with Goliath, right? You guys have been to that roller coaster place. It's called Six Flags. They have a Goliath. It's like a huge roller coaster, right? Yeah. So this story is about two races. They're fighting against each other, right? And back in the days, people like the general comes out, they challenge, right? So they're from the opposite race. There's this giant, right? He's a 9-foot tall giant, a big dude, came out and say, you know, you guys are cowards. If you are brave enough, come on, challenge me, right? And no one dared. I think for days, no one dared to come out. And finally, this little boy, he was probably like 14, something like that, according to the Bible. But he came out. He went to the king. He says, let me see here. So let me see. Okay, so the story is, let me finish the story first. So the story is, he came out, and the Goliath said, you come to me with a sword, a spear, a javelin, but no, you come to me with a sword, a spear, a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord. So the David saying that, right? He says, you know, you guys have everything. You're a soldier, but, you know, I come to you with nothing but a sling and a stone. And with that, he struck Goliath and he killed him. And they won the war. So a very little story like this, it comes back to this topic is never be afraid of giants. And I listened to a podcast, it's called How I Built This. And I think one of the first few episodes is talking about the CEO of Instagram, right? And how he eventually got bought by Facebook. But a lot of times where, you know, when you're a small company, you're looking at big giants out there, and you're thinking to yourself, oh man, you know, I'll never be good enough. You know, whatever I do, they have so much money, they can easily duplicate, you know, they can hire more people, and so on and so forth. But time and time again, if you listen to the podcast once again is called How I Built This. Is talking about how they're so big, and when they are big, they don't have the luxury to move fast. Okay, so on the contrary, when you're a small company, you're small, yes, you're small, but you can go really fast. You can try fast, you can fail fast, you can move on fast. And I think that is what I'm trying to say with this story. You know, don't be afraid of giants, because small, when your entity is small, it has its benefits, it has its pros, right? Okay, so yeah, so that's point number 2. Don't be afraid of giants. And the quote that I want to share with this is this: if you don't believe in God, just don't look at it as a religious thing, right? But how about change God to life? Okay, sometimes life puts you put a Goliath in your path. How about this? Sometimes life put a Goliath in your path for you to find a David within you. And that makes ultimate sense, right? You know, that's the point where I was saying, you know, success doesn't come unless you embrace the failures. It's after time and time of failures, you learn, you gain experience. That when an opportunity is put in front of you, you know how to grab it, right? I think there's always opportunity in front of us, right? But a lot of times we don't even recognize opportunities. And I think, you know, failure in a sense allow us to start identifying opportunities. Yeah. So one more thing I want to share about this story before I move on is this David guy, right? So when David went to the king and said, you know, Goliath is calling you out, you know, I think I'm the perfect candidate to take on him. The king was like, no, you can't do it. You're just a kid, right? But at that time, David told the king, he said, you know, I am a shepherd. I have sheep that I protect, and I've killed lion and bears, right? So that totally put this story in a different perspective. David is just not a little kid. He is very experienced, is very skilled, right? So I think that's the beauty of this story. Not asking you to take on all the giants in life, but be skilled, be experienced. So when the giants do come, you know how to conquer your giants. All right, last slide. Okay, so this one, in a sense that, you know, it is the guy, right? And the main guy, the main dude in the Bible. But, you know, just let's look at him as a leader. Okay, don't look at him like a religious icon. Look at him as a leader. This is one of the occasion where, you know, Jesus kneeled down and he started cleaning his disciples' feet, right? And I think that's why I put this on number one, not because of Jesus, but what he does. As a leader, a lot of times we forgot how to be humble, right? So that comes back to what I was trying to say, you know, yes, you can move fast, you can move swift alone, but as a team, you can go way longer, way further, right? And I think being humble is a wisdom. And I think Jesus is the perfect example. His action right here is the perfect example where he is oriented to his team. He's a very caring leader, right? So yes, you want your projects to be done. Yes, you want to be very successful. You want your team, you want your company to be very, very successful, but you cannot do it by yourself. Elon Musk couldn't create Tesla by himself. He created Tesla with the whole team. And my last quote that I want to share today, almost done, is Bill Gates, right? I don't know if it's Christian. I don't care. This is, but the quote that I want to say that he said, and I quote, is, as we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empowers others, period. And I think that concludes my sharing today. And I hope every single one of you get a chance to be an entrepreneur, a leader, and remember this quote right here from one of the richest men on earth, Bill Gates, right? And yeah, thank you guys very much for inviting me. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
Well, thank you so much for that inspiring presentation. I didn't know I was going to get fired up here, but thanks anyway. And I'm sure we all appreciate the effort that you put in, and also the call that you've taken in your own life to show us how young people even can be successful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Dr. Shao, you owe me a dinner.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, you can go to that hot pot place.
Okay, yeah, I would definitely go. So any questions and comments?
Thank you so much. That was really very informative. We really enjoyed it. Did you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Vicky is here. Hi, Vicky. Do you want to say something?
Great presentation. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I mean, he's good speaker, right on point, the whole servant leadership, so impactful and important for us to remember. Really is. So thank you for allowing me to sit on the sidelines.
All right, thank you so much. So yeah,
I have a question. It's Danny here. Hey, thank you, Aaron, for your presentation. It was very informative. I have a question. It seems as you have employees and you deal with ethical situation, like you showed what company you decide to advertise for and the ones that you decide not to, and you have your reason. But there's one thing that I wanted to know from your perspective. Probably you interviewed the people that you hired on your team. So in speaking about ethics, what are the questions that you ask people who are potential employees to kind of see where their moral, right, their ethics, if their values aligns with your corporation? How do you figure that out? Because you as a leader can do the best you can to be a good leader, ethical, but if you don't bring in someone who has the same values as you, they might not succeed within your organization, or they might create internal issues for your organization. How do you do that?
well, I am not. I never like. I'm not HR. I'm not in HR, so I am not picky at all. In a sense that who am I to tell if someone's ethical, right? So I don't really interview a person for ethics, but I do try this. When I do hire someone to our team, I would say, would you like to do it as an intern, right? So from an unpaid internship, I can understand if this person is money motivated, right? And that ties back to the COVID situation where I'm still paying them, right? But things are going tough, but everyone stick with me. So I think yes, I do care about ethics, but I will let them join my team first, and if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But I wouldn't judge in advance.
Okay. Yeah, I okay. Yeah, it's a good response. The reason I kind of asked that question is because there's one class that we took that was talking about aligning the skills as well as the fit, right? The culture fit and the skills, or the work that they're going to be doing, right? They have to fit that, make sure that they have the qualification at the same time, kind of also fit your organizational culture, right? Because then you have someone that will not have intentions to leave because their values, personal values in the organization that aligns and stuff like that. That's why I asked that question, but thank you very much.
I think, yeah, I think most people fit in the sense that we're not like in my industry. It's not we're not in biotech, right? You don't have to be PhD in molecular biology, but for the most part, I think what we do is really fun. So I invite people to share this fun with me, and with that, people, I'm expecting people to have the same passion to have fun working with me as a team. But I have met employees that's totally unfit. All right, but so you know, I step a little bit, I step back a little bit. You know, I think everyone fits in a certain part of the company. So for example, in sales department, people need to be really aggressive. So but you know, they might not be the best coworkers. So they're fine if he's really good at selling, then fine. You know, you don't have to mingle with the rest of the company. That's you do what you do great. But if you talked about unethical, such as, you know, harassment in company, unfortunately, fortunately, I don't have experience with that yet. So I wouldn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, that one is tough because you don't have a crystal ball to actually go into someone's mind and know. Yeah, so that one is tough. Yeah, you're right. That one's
The
tough.
other thing that is really tough is, like I was saying, everyone, although our company tried to be unbiased, we try not to dab into politics, but the last couple of years has been really tough because you see people from different perspective of political perspective, right? And you try to be as neutral as possible, and I think that plays to the part of being professional. Yes, you can have your belief, that's fine, right? But if we can still work together, you know, I'm all for it. All right. Anyone has any other questions? And if you guys need if you guys need anything in the future, just let me know. Dr. Shell and I, we are really close. Yeah, like the podcast, I think it was one of the best thing that ever happened to me as I embark on the journey of entrepreneurship, because it's really hard, right? But when you listen enough, I think the podcast, how I built this, is it tells the same story. It's perseverance, it's hard work, right? And if you're not a servant, if you don't have that servant mentality, you think, oh, I'm gonna go in and be Elon Musk. It's not gonna happen, right? Unless your parents are really rich, right? Unless you're adopting a business from someone else, is typically not that case, right? So I think, but I think the hardness of running of starting a business is actually the beauty of it, because when you look back, you look at it is the hardest things that's the most memorable, I think. And it's still pretty hard. Not I wouldn't say that, you know, it's over. You know, it's still an ongoing battle. But you know, at least I'm working for myself, right?
Aron, thank you so much for the great presentation. If you didn't mind, like you can share like your PowerPoint with us and your contacts or website if you have in your company.
Sure, no problem. So for $5 a month, I'll share it.
Okay.
That's very ethical of you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. I hope it helps you guys out. And hopefully we grab a hot pot together. All right, anything else?
What your advice like for anyone who has ambition like for to own like some business? Because I tried to do I opened the company, but just like in social, like I opened a website like when the COVID is like started, but in this time and until this time I couldn't start my business because I didn't have a lot of money and supports. But I will be try like to start like beginner in first level, and then in my mind I will like increase my business in the future. Yeah.
Can you share with me what you started?
Why my presentation in in 2019 for master degree, it was my topic like Apple company in Libya. I try like to open authorizer or something like about Apple, and I did survey like in social media for my country, and I got 3,500 responsible. I try like to find like some product from Apple company, use it and sell it in social media. I mean, like I try like to make contact between USA to send like some product to Libya. This is a great business because I have been work with cell phone for 16 years, and I still have a store, but I'm confused a little bit from how I will start like my business because I don't have a lot of money.
Yeah. I think not having a lot of money, in a sense, is a good thing as well, because you try to make it work, right? So I think starting, and I'm just saying this, right? I'm not saying this because I'm successful. I'm not at all successful, right? But I think my thing is, I think you have to be passionate. You have to be knowledgeable at what you want to start, right? Because I can give you another example. This guy, he's a software engineer. He built an app. It's called Goodreads. Goodreads is where it's a social media platform where you can share books that you read with your friends. Vice versa, if you're a book lover, you can see what your friends are reading, so you can influence one another. So when he was building that, one of the thing was his Goliath is Amazon. Amazon, the big book provider, and Kindle. He could be crushed easily, but he knows what's important to him from the social perspective, because he came out from a social media platform. And later on, he shared that Amazon could never taken his business in the sense. Well, so ultimately he sold his business to Amazon, right? But one of the questions that he shared was, could Amazon duplicate what he was doing? And the answer is no, because from Amazon's perspective is how to make money, how to sell books. It's never from the perspective of a user, of a social user. So, and that's why if you look at Google tried social media, it didn't work, right? Because although they're very big, they're not looking at the same subject from your perspective. So I think when you do want to start a business, of course, if you can start it with as little money as possible, that's the best. But something that like you can't open a restaurant if you don't know how to cook, right? What if your cook goes away, then you're screwed, right? So in a sense, yeah, you have to know. It has to be something that and something you're passionate, so that when things gets hard, you're still gonna stick around and try to push on.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any questions, comments? No? This is an excellent presentation. Aron demonstrated his business a little bit in the beginning of the presentation, and also he discussed ethics and the leadership in his organization. And also he had 3 very excellent examples and the stories shared with us at the end of the presentation. So I'm so glad that he can stop by and to discuss the leaderships and ethics with us together today. Thank you so much. Thanks for your community services.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
I can log off, right? Can I log off? Do you guys still have class later on?
Yes. If you have time, how about like you email me the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yes, and I will share with a group of the students.
All right, cool. Take care, guys. Nice stopping by today. Bye. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.